My name is Nigel Swarts. I'm a research fellow at the University of Tasmania, the Tasmanian Institute of Agriculture, and we're working on developing a better understanding of nitrogen and irrigation use efficiency in apple orchards. The main output of the project is going to be a tool that growers can use to strategically manage their nitrogen and irrigation resources. The tool will be called a Sonata. So that stands for Strategic Irrigation and Nitrogen Assessment Tool for apples. The outcome of that is better process understanding about how an orchardist or an advisor can advise an orchardist on utilising nitrogen and water resources on their orchard. Underpinning that tool is a model that's developed by our project collaborator Steve Green. That model is the engine room for Sonata, and that incorporates a whole stack of soil information, climate information, orchard information that the growers will input, as well as some really powerful information on how a tree utilises nitrogen and water. We've completed a 5-year fertigation trial through PIPS 1 and also now through PIPS 2, and that has taught us some really useful information about the fruit quality outcomes associated with, nitrogen and irrigation supply. And the model can now quite reliably look at and understand nitrogen movement through a tree and so the nitrogen status of the tree throughout the season. But what we don't really know in that much detail yet is nitrogen use efficiency. And we need to better understand exactly how a tree uses nitrogen over a season, when is the most effective time for tree uptake, whether that's pre-harvest or whether that's post-harvest, and also how that influences how a tree partitions its nitrogen throughout its organs, and then how that influences storage. So PhD student Bi Zheng Tan will be looking at that as part of his PhD project.
I'm doing a trial with Dr. Nigel Swarts, which is called 15N fertigation trial. So in this trial, I use a fertilizer with 15N nitrogen, which is an isotopic nitrogen that allows me to trace the movement of nitrogen throughout the trees. I apply this tracer nitrogen at different timings. For instance, one at a pre-harvest, one at post-harvest, and then we'll excavate those trees at 2 different timings. One at the dormancy of first year, and then the second one at the commercial harvest of second year. This will give me the ability to measure how much of the nitrogen has been taken up following a nitrogen application. And also, in the second year, how much of the nitrogen will be remobilized in the tree for the next year tree growth and fruit development.
So one of the other large aspects of the project is soil characterisation of the 4 or 5 main growing regions across Australia. We are going to better understand the soil profiles for each region. We've visited up to 9 farms in a region, and we found growers to be very receptive to having holes being dug in their orchards, and have benefited from having soil scientist Marcus Hardy from TR come to visit their site and describe to them what's happening in their soils. Marcus will bring all that some soil samples over to our dedicated quarantine facility and soil physics lab at university, and he'll put that soil through a range of different soil physics tests to help us understand how water moves through that soil and how much water that soil holds. And that information will be critical for giving an explanation to growers about their irrigation timing, irrigation frequency and scheduling. And then all that has to be inputted into this user-friendly tool, Sonata, and that will be rolled out to growers in the next year and a half through the Future Orchards program. Strong outcomes so far have already been large involvement from growers in allowing us to come on their farms, both to dig holes but also to destructively harvest trees. The project benefits a lot from grower involvement and advisor involvement in helping us understand exactly when a grower should be putting nitrogen on, and then how that then feeds into our trial designs. Nitrogen management is seen as a bit of a black box for orcharding. I guess there's been plenty of research trials looking at nitrogen over the years, and particularly many of those trials were done when orchards were not as intensive as what they are now, when trees were much bigger, yields weren't as great. So with most growers now adopting precision fertigation through drip irrigation systems, we now have the opportunity to look at more efficient utilisation of nitrogen through our fertigation systems, and so that makes this research highly relevant.